Hey, I'm MARICHKA MARCZYK from the Lemon Bucket Orkestra. You're listening to Yannick Thériault on Cigare&Whiskey.
Hey folks, it's Yannick from Cigare&Whiskey in TDC Moncton, and I've got with me a Canadian great, part of the Lemon Bucket Orchestra, and I'll let him say his own name.
I'm MARICHKA MARCZYK.
Mark, thank you so much for coming to this year's Harvest Festival.
Our pleasure, man. As you can see, I'm feeling right at home here in Frederickson.
Including yourself, I know you guys are in and out, so basically you arrived today and you're leaving again tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a quick one for us.
How many people are actually are part of your band in this particular lineup this time around?
There's 12 of us.
12?
There's 12 of us, and I actually counted them as I got on the plane today. It's kind of a, we literally, it sort of changes, shifts, and evolves kind of depending on where we are. So sometimes I have to count just to remind myself of like who exactly is playing that particular night.
Okay.
But I counted 12. I know that they'll be there.
Okay. And I know you're from Toronto.
That's right.
But where are the other members born? I know you're pretty much all over the place when it comes to artists participating into it.
Yeah. I mean, we're all based in Toronto. That's kind of like the place that we call home right now.
Mm-hmm.
But we have our flugelhorn player Naoki is from Japan. Our drummer Oscar is from Mexico. My wife and singer in the band is from Ukraine. Josh is his family is from Guyana. So it's kind of, we span a lot of different culture, and then there's roots in Ireland and England and Holland and in a variety of different places. So it's a cool, it's an international project, although the music that we're really sort of like most inspired by is music of Eastern Europe.
Okay.
But then everybody sort of brings their own flavors to that, which gives it a kind of, to be honest, like a Canadian feel. That to me is what sounds Canadian about it, that differentiates it from a lot of different kind of, I guess, like Eastern European folk bands.
I know that your wife sings, but what do you do in the band?
I sing and I play violin.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do the others sing and play apart from?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of songs that we all kind of do gang vocals on, and but we have sort of three predominant like singers.
Okay.
Stefania, who's also our dancer. My wife and myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So it gives us sort of the opportunity to do these like really beautiful, like sweeping harmonies, like the polyphonic music of the plains of Ukraine, or the sort of dissonant stuff that you get in Bulgaria. So it's good to, you need 3 or 4 voices to be able to do that.
Yeah. We can't really say for the others, there's 12 people, you can't really speak for them, but yeah. For yourself and for your wife, what was the push that actually brought you into being singers / songwriters / musicians?
Yeah, it's a shame that we don't actually have 12 people here, though. Then the interview would probably be like as long as our rehearsals, which are like 4 days long. Oof. So no, I'm kidding. But it would be long. It would be long because everyone just has such a different story. Like I can share some of them. Oscar, he sort of came to music through community samba groups, and then he started spinning fire and at like djembe circles, and that got him into sort of playing drum and a little bit of Eastern European flavor. And then he came in. Josh was like a punk drummer who met a belly dancer who said, why don't you try playing with your fingers? And he got into Middle Eastern drum playing. MARICHKA, my wife, is like a classical pianist who overplayed her hands and then had a teacher say, why don't you try, there's a department of ethnomusicology, and she became like one of the foremost singers and researchers of traditional Ukrainian polyphony in the country. We have guys who went through classical training and did their their masters in composition and playing, and then we have guys who went through jazz school, and someone like me who is, you know, a writer and a poet who just came by the violin by fluke and then started playing and got so into it that sort of became my life. So, you know, everybody has a different story as to how we got in, and that's kind of, to me, what makes Lemon Bucket is like, rather than just saying, okay, we're a different thing than some of the bands that are like, okay, we all grew up in the same village and we were high school buddies, or we all grew up in this tradition. No, we're all from completely different places with different stories, and all came by it in our own ways, and try and like embrace that in the music that we play.
What are you bringing at this year's Harvest Festival?
A party. Yeah, I think, like, I was telling Steven, who booked us, that, you know, we do so many different types of shows and performances. It's one of my favorite things about Lemon Bucket is it's really malleable. You know, we can get into a theater and where there's, you know, a seated audience who's used to going to the theater, and the music is so deep and there are so many different layers to it, so with there being 12 musicians, that we can give them something to chew on and listen to. And then at other times, like we've been at like EDM festivals where everybody is just going crazy, and we get in the middle of the audience and start playing, and, you know, it's more of that wall of sound. You know, there isn't a whole lot of intricacy, but just the energy is so big and loud that, you know, people can get behind it. And with this particular festival, you know, I've seen, especially in the tent that we're playing, that there are these kind of legendary parties that it's the place that if people are going to other venues to kind of listen to a variety of, you know, their favorite artists, this is the tent that they go to party. So that's what we're going to bring. We're going to bring a party.
Party aside, how do you cope with touring?
I wear a house coat as much as possible and try to partake in as many heathen activities as possible, like sitting in the hot tub and Cigare&Whiskey and all that stuff, you know?
Any tips or pointers to people that are starting their own journey in the music business?
Yeah, do not partake in as many heathen activities as possible. And I mean, ultimately, it's like, you know, my dad, he gave me advice when I was younger, and he continues to give me the same advice. He keeps asking me, like, anytime that we hang out, he goes, look, do you love what you do? Like, are you passionate about the thing that you're spending the most time on? And as long as the answer to that is yes, then you should be doing it.
While touring, your life is brought onto the road. Do you bring your favorite hobbies with you as well?
Yeah. I mean, my favorite hobby is Lemon Bucket, and it's my profession too. But to be honest with you, I don't really have hobbies. I don't know if I have, like, this is the thing that I love playing violin, and I love listening to music. You know, I like a lot of different stuff. So, like, right now, me personally, like, I'm really into, like, producing electronic music. So that's, like, something that I bring and I can do sort of when in my downtime, or like taking a hot tub with my wife, luckily, who's in the band as well. So yeah, those are, I mean, definitely, that's sort of, I guess my life is just a big hobby.
Okay, and I know your favorite instrument is the violin. Any particular make or model?
No, because, I mean, I'll let you in on a little bit of a secret. It's kind of interesting that in all my years of playing, you're the first person who's asked me about specifically my violin, and I always only play pieces of shit. Like, I had one time where I played like a 100-year-old British violin that had a really good sound, but the thing is that in the context of Lemon Bucket, both with, and this is like a technical thing, when you have a lot of brass players and you have an acoustic instrument, the violin is not made to sustain, to be played, like to be able to compete with brass and drums.
Okay.
So you have to augment the sound, which means that anything that's coming naturally out of the instrument is completely squashed. So there's no sense in playing anything that sounds good acoustically, because ultimately you're going to be affecting the sound anyways. So I take something that is really robust and like has a super like is just like very tough, and then I just, you know, then I feel confident in doing whatever I want on stage. And ultimately, when it comes to like, you know, the sort of Romani and klezmer style of playing, like it's really, there's a lot of work in the high end, and like everything is really in your bow and your finger movements. And it doesn't matter, like you go over to Eastern Europe and you see the violins that some of those guys in the villages are playing, and they're pieces of junk. But then those guys, they'll take it, they'll move the sound post over, they'll play it with love, and like bring, and this is maybe sounds a little bit esoteric, but like they'll bring the sort of spirit and love into the instrument, and then all of a sudden, you know, guys are coming from the city and are like, what do you got? I'll buy it for a lot of money, even though it's a piece of junk. You know, and I've seen it happen, and so it's really what it comes down to is like playing from here and playing from here.
Well, the interview is almost over. Now it's a weird question, but I've been asking it to those that I've been involved with in the recent past. What's your favorite dish?
Oh man, my favorite dish. That's, you know what, my sort of go-to thing, like if I'm just off the top of my head, the first thing that came to mind was pickle soup. My wife's pickle soup. It's like a very specific Ukrainian thing, and it's like grated, like literally like grated salty dill pickles with like, you know, potatoes and carrots and all sorts, and it is, and sour cream, and it's amazing. It's like my favorite thing to eat if I've been away for a long time and I just like want something hearty, and I like liquids because I don't drink enough water, so like pickle soup is my water.
Well, there you go, folks. The Lemon Bucket Orkestra man of the day, our dear Mark. Thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure.
And leaving your poor missus in the pool alone.
I'm going right on back to her right now. Don't worry. This house coat's coming off in about 30 seconds.
There you go, folks. Thank you so much, Mark.